This episode is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the #1 seller of games and gaming accessories. And GatheringMagic.com, the #1 resource for Magic the Gathering news and articles.
Hello, I'm Mike from the Mana Pool. You can tell by this shirt that I recorded all these videos on the same day. Yeah. And this is my Scion of the Ur-Dragon Commander deck. Alright, so, Scion of the Ur-Dragon. This was my very first commander deck that I built. I hadn't gotten into the format yet, and basically I just wanted to go in hard with something awesome. And I actually got this shiny Scion from a listener who sent us a bunch of stuff because he had to quit the game for various reasons. So, I decided to go for it. Alright, so, as always, mana base comes first, and this, I don't even know if I want to go through these cards. This mana base is just a mess. Like, it is all over the place. I really need to go and clean it up at some point, but I don't know when I'm going to do that. I mean, you have, like, whoa, wow, this is a lot of lands. Yeah, there are a lot of lands in this deck, and, like, dual lands, and creature guy lands, and shock lands, and pain lands, and so a couple fetch lands and some, man, I don't even know. It's just, woo! Yeah, let's not get into that. Who cares? Alright. But they're all pretty well evenly balanced, according to the mana symbols that are on the cards. So it works out pretty well. I don't usually have problems. Other mana stuff, Mox Diamond. Crucial if you want to be able to get that Wooburg as early as possible, which I do. Needs to happen. Birds of Paradise also helps in that regard, as does Coalition Relic, because it is beyond awesome. Darksteel Ingot is just Inglet. That's not what it's called. Darksteel Ingot is right there towing the line of beyond awesome. It actually is beyond awesome. I just didn't want to put it up ahead of Coalition Relic. Scuttlemutt is a really cool guy. I don't really use his turn stuff colors ability, but his other ability is pretty cool. Reap and Sow can get any land, and in an emergency I can kill annoying lands. Maze of Ith is usually the villain that people mention when they're talking about destroying problem lands. I'm counting Garruk Wildspeaker as a mana making card because that's usually what he's doing for me, untapping lands, getting bigger. Every once in a while I might ask him for a beast token, and sometimes I get to overrun, but usually it's just the land stuff. And I'm trying my best to hold these cards in the middle of the frame as opposed to way up here or way down here that I did in the other videos. So hopefully this is working out. Primeval Titan, another mana ripping guy. Thank you, Chewy. Now it's in the hide. Now I'm going to be self-conscious about this for the entire rest of the video. It's going to be great. Loxodon Warhammer shows up in almost all the commander decks that I've made so far. Because it's a Loxodon Warhammer, just look at it. Isn't it glorious? Okay, yeah, you can see now we're into the random utility cards. Gulmazoa is really cool for discouraging people from attacking me with their commanders. Battle Rampart is awesome because it can give people haste, and in a deck that is presumably full of dragons, that's really good. Yeah, about the concept for this deck. I originally, I could have gone a lot of different ways with Scion. I could have gone like combo or control or do a funny trick or whatever. But I decided to go with the whole Dragon's Blam aspect of him. Turn him into a big old dragon, attack, awesome times. All right, more random utility. Wall of Denial, one of the best blockers ever. Sit there while I'm setting up my Wooburg. Spearbreaker Behemoth is really cool, and because, with all the creatures in here being so big, I can just make them indestructible, and that's just a really useful effect. I appreciate it. What is this? Okay, now we're into the tutoring and card drawing section. I'm going to call Mosswort Bridge a tutoring card drawing card because it doesn't take very long to get above 10 power. and then I get a free spell, and that's pretty cool. Weathered Wayfarer also helps a lot to get the cards I need to get me up to Wooburg. It's really great to activate him in response to cracking a fetch land, which means after I'm temporarily down on lands, and then I get a land from the fetch land, and then I get a land from him, and everyone's happy. Well, I'm happy. Time of Need, plenty of legendary dragons in here. Go grab one. Reinos no Mapeados, Realms Uncharted. Get some lands. I like it. I don't know why we can't play Gifts on Gift. I mean, Intuition is legal in EDH, but Gifts Ungiven isn't for some reason. Even though in EDH, I keep saying EDH, even though in Commander they do almost the same thing except just different numbers of cards. Whatever. Etch Monstrosity is really good at drawing some cards and being a great big guy. Liliana Vess, her tutor ability is one of the most useful things on this card, but her Raised Dead is amazing if I can work up to it. Especially with the way the Scion works, just dumping a bunch of dragons in the graveyard and hopefully a bunch of opposing creatures also dying along the way. Sarkhan the Mad, I ended up putting him in the card drawing pile because of his first ability, but he's just an all-around utility guy. He can make some dragons, turn horrifying things on the other side of the table into a dragon that I can more easily deal with, or just make all my dragons breathe fire on someone's face. Skyward Eye Prophets, really good at drawing cards, ramping land, coiling Oracle every turn. I like that. Okay, here's a little bitty sub-theme. Getting extra turns and extra attacks. Magosi the Water Veil is kind of weird, but there are some turns where you'll go around the table and there's really nothing you feel like doing. So you might as well just, when it gets back around to you, before your turn actually starts, skip it, put an extra turn in the Water Veil here and use it later. It's awesome. Relentless Assault is a classic multi-attack card. I know there are more flashy things out there that I can use right now, but I just like Relentless Assault. I mean, costing 4, you just don't get that for anything. You have to pay 5 or more to get it from any other card. And it's just nice and convenient. Time Warp, that's a cool way to get another attack. Beacon of Tomorrows, also very good. I used to have a set of these in a casual deck. I eventually took them out because they got so annoying because I would keep finding them again instead of cards that would win me the game. So I'd be sitting there taking a million turns and everyone would be staring at me waiting for something to happen, and it was just an unpleasant experience all around. But here's pretty cool because the deck is really big and there's only one copy and it's just awesome. And of course, if you want extra turns, you should probably play Time Stretch because it gives you everything you could ever want and more. Alright, this section is removal. Profane Command does a whole lot of things. It does removal, recursion, direct damage, whatever. But I'm putting it in with removal because the -X gets used very, very commonly. A whole lot. Con of Storm, also direct damage, but also removal. Throw it at one guy, throw it at a couple guys, burn someone out. That's pretty hot. Ablation seems to be a pretty standard card in the commander decks that can play it. Deal with pretty much anything. Throw a commander into someone's deck. Mortify, versatile removal. Gotta hate those enchantments. Putrefy, more versatile removal. Consume the Meek. All my creatures are so big, so Consume the Meek keeps them safe and gets all the little guys out of the way so my big guys have room to fight. Fumarole is a really severely overlooked card for Commander. For just 5 mana and 3 life, which is nothing, you kill a creature and the land. And that's just great. That's good stuff. Steel Hellkite is removal, and he's a dragon, so the Scion can turn into Steel Hellkite to do some removing. That's always awesome. Dragon. I love Disaster Radius in any commander deck that has red because you're always playing, I'm always playing enormous creatures. So Disaster Radius is always always very fun and hilarious. Let's get into recursion. Petrified Field is an interesting bit of recursion for lands. You know, I can pick up a useful land that someone has destroyed, or I can just pick up a fetch land to go get another. It's just cool. Rato Lantern, throwing things from the graveyard on the bottom of the library for Scion to get again, or for me to eventually draw again, or tutor up again, who knows. Yokes and Grunt, likewise, also can really hate on... Rato Lantern can also be used to hate on people who are messing with the graveyard. And so can Yokes and Grunt. See, Recursion. Recoup lets me... I'm picking up all these cards at once. Recoup lets me, play one of my sorceries again. Awesome. Word. And then it has flashback, so I can play one of my sorceries again. That's cool. Regrowth. The ultimate in classic recursion for a deck that has, forests in it. Junk Troller, another guy who can stuff things from the graveyard back to the library. And he's got a big butt. Beacon of Unrest. Take anything from my graveyard. That's mine. Give me that. Living Death. Even if I'm bringing back a bunch of other people's creatures, I'm probably bringing back a bunch of dragons too, which is great. And killing a bunch of things that I can't stand right now, which is also great. And then, of course, Patriarch's Bidding. There are a few things more fun in this deck than using my Scion multiple times at the end of someone's turn to dump like 3 or 4 dragons in the graveyard at once, and then coming back with a Patriarch's Bidding. It's really hilarious. I highly recommend it. Grizzly Gus is another really great guy. For just 5 mana, you get a 6/8, and then there's that graveyard to library recursion again. And you can even make him punch damage straight through like a Thorn Elemental. Always useful. Debtor's Knell, there's always a bunch of groans around the table when Debtor's Knell comes out. It's just brutal. Praetor's Council. I was so happy when they printed this card. This is just awesome. Y'all know what Praetor's Council does if you've ever played Green and Commander ever. Artisan of Kozilek. It's not too hard to pay for him to get the full effect. It's just 9 mana, 8 mana, 9 mana. I can't read. Saw those cards, mana cards. Okay, now we get to the good part, the important part, the dragons. Dragons. So I got all the Plane Shift dragons. There's Intet. And Numot, also very nice for destroying problem land. And Oros, he's a racist. And Rift the Awakener, make a bunch of sacklings. And Teneb the Harvester, even more recursion. And Trevor the Renewer, get a bunch of life. And Vorash the Hunter, usually the first thing I transform Scion the Dragon into is Vorash the Hunter. So he'll get a bunch of +1/+1 counters piled on him, and he becomes super duper dangerous, and that's great. Bladewing the Risen, I usually don't transform the Scion into this, I just play him straight up so I can grab back one of the dragons I dumped in there. That's awesome. Karthus, Tyrant of Jund, he's Karthus. The dragon. The Tyrant of Jund. You gotta have him in this deck. Magarden Hellkite, also someone who the Scion doesn't turn into very often, but it's just great. Especially if I'm recurring him with some effect. If I get to play him twice, that is. I don't know where I was going with that sentence, but he's cool. Hellkite Overlord is also really cool. He's someone that Scion turns into pretty often. 8/8, trample, regenerate. It actually isn't too uncommon for me to transform Scion into him in an emergency just so I can get to regenerate, which catches people off guard. And that's awesome. Nicol Bolas. Dun dun dun. He's cool. Vampiric Dragon. So cool. He can, here's another one where you can turn Scion into him and pile on some +1/+1 counters. He's just so useful. And finally, I'm sure no Scion of the Dragon deck is complete without a Dragon Tyrant for the Trample and the Double Strike. Notice that I didn't show a single copy of Skithrix this whole time. I really don't know if I'm ready to go down that road. That's just, whoo boy. I don't know if that's the kind of game I play. Anyway, dragons, blam! Alright, thanks everybody. Again, I'm Mike from the Mana Pool. Check us out at themanapool.com. Remember to subscribe and favorite CMDR decks. Tell everybody, write a sternly worded letter to your congressman. Have a nice night.